XRP holders, welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. Shout out to you guys for obviously showing so much love on these day-to-day updates. But yeah, without further ado, let's take a look at what's happening with XRP. So the price is up about 4.5% right now. With the overall market, I'm sure you guys can tell if you're looking at the screen, we are seeing the broader market up. As we are going into Wednesday morning, specifically over the last, I would say 15 to 20 minutes, if you're looking at the hourly time frame, you're starting to see market retrace a little bit. Nothing crazy, a little bit. But as far as XRP is concerned, it's one of the coins that's still remaining in the green, up 1% over the course of the last 1 hour to be exact. But in the 24-hour time frame, we're up about 4.3% in USD, also up 2.6% in Bitcoin comparative. Now, if you're looking at the price, $2.59, valuation holding very strong at the 151.5 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume at about $5.2 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer. Anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So ETF flows. Really want to kind of start off with this, and I'm going to obviously share why I personally think this is a good thing for even XRP. So ETF flows, around 889 Bitcoin were sold and 5,410 Ethereum were bought on May 13th. And if you look at the analysis, if you look at the indexes, it makes all sense. Right now, money is flowing out of BTC because Bitcoin was gaining traction while the entire market was bleeding. If you've been following my channel, we know about that. But recently, dominant index has been, just getting wrecked, towards the downside, which of course is causing a lot of excitement coming into alts. And this is a perfect example here because ETH has been outpacing. If you look at Ethereum in a USD standpoint, you might be confused, but forget about that. Look at Ethereum in the Bitcoin comparative side of things. People whose end goal is obviously to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, they are accumulating Ethereum at this point because, of course, that ETH BTC chart, ETH BTC comparative was pretty much bottom 2.5 weeks ago. So in terms of an ROI potential compared to BTC just holding, the potential is much higher on Ethereum, and it has been able to show that. Just take a look at it over the last 1 week alone, and even if you want to take a look at it over the last 1 month, you can really see where things really lie. Because of course Ethereum really hasn't had this types of explosive move, but when Ethereum tends to show this type of strength, because of course it has that first mover advantage, it is the first meme coin, with such high valuation, has an ETF. When ETH starts moving the way it does and dominance starts pulling down the way it does, altcoins really start gaining traction, and that's exactly what we're seeing happening right now. So that kind of explains what's happening with the ETF flows. I'm not too surprised about that. Moving forward, the Institutional of International Finance recognizes Ripple and XRP as alternative for cross-border payments. Some big names starting to, realize that, hold on, Ripple isn't just playing around here. And of course, this is just one of many examples out there, but I wanted to kind of share this with you guys. Moving forward, Coinbase invests in Canadian stablecoin issuer Stablecorp to expand access to tokenized Canadian dollars. So we are seeing regulation coming towards US, but as far as Canada is concerned, it's still kind of behind when you compare it to how things are really heating up in the US. Of course, in the grand scheme of things, there's countries outside of North America that are light years ahead, and this is why Trump has come out and said that, hey, you know what? We want to make the U.S. the crypto global hub because, of course, he understands the potential of this digital asset market. And as other countries start coming on board, treating this as a real asset class, obviously, the battle really begins as to who is going to take the majority of the advantage. And I think now Canada could be next because, of course, they're still, behind, like I said, compared to the U.S. But of course, they had a new prime minister that has come in. And of course, if you know Mark Carney, if you're a Canadian, shout out to the Canadians out there. Mark Carney has, positively talked about the blockchain industry, especially even XRP. So the potential definitely lies there. So I'm very, very excited to see how that, shift happens. But I think we're already starting to see that happening, slowly but surely. Huge news today, of course. VanEck launches tokenized treasury fund. 120 billion asset manager just launched, the VanEck treasury fund, which of course, is called VBIL alongside their existing crypto ETFs and VC fund. It's now live on Ethereum, Avalanche, Solana, and BNB, powered by Securities and Wormhole. And I know a lot of people are going to come out and say, why not XRPL Ledger? I know those comments are going to come in. Maybe they do have that, in their, pipeline. Maybe they're not doing it on purpose. We don't know. But look at these big moves that are happening from these big players, and I could not be more excited. But last but not least, take a look at this. XRP breaking the trend once again. Altcoins fall except XRP. Smoke really going over the article. And also, SwiftNet runs on the standard network, which of course is, HTTP protocol. The XRPL ledger connects to applications via HTTP. The overlap makes XRPL naturally compatible with Swift infrastructure. See it for yourself. So of course we understand this. We've been talking about this for quite some time. When you really understand, the potential of this, it just changes the game. The way we send funds, back and forth. So very, very exciting stuff. Let's really take a look at the price, and then we'll wrap up the video. Here we have it. We did see the dominance falling down to the likes of 61.85% a few hours back. So it's continuing to fall down. Amazing to see. BTC pretty much ranging around this level. We did see a little bit of a shakeout since the last few hours, but overall, we are holding really nicely for BTC. As far as XRP is concerned, look at XRP. We're back in the 23.6, and what's really important here is that the price of XRP ended up closing the candle that I spoke to you guys about. Very important. We retested 264, kind of got stopped out because we do have some resistance around that range. But the fact that we closed the daily candle in the 23.6 is very, very important, and of course gives us a better understanding as to where things are really heading. So I'm very, very pumped up. Of course, the next level here, let's actually take a look at it on the weekly time frame. We're looking at, the next level to be around the 271, to be quite frank with you. And after that, I think we could start pushing up to yearly highs and towards all-time highs. So very, very exciting stuff. Loving the way XRP is holding, with the way dominance is looking right now. If it continues to do what it's doing, I personally project that, we could see some more upside just this month alone. Let me know down below what you guys think. Love each and every one of you guys. We'll see you later in Crypto ZX, and peace out.